That's not good. That is really not good. That's what happens when you go to the beach and you have sunscreen on your face and then it goes up into your hair and then you get salt water on your hair. That's not good. I can't film like this. I can't in good conscience film like this. 3 times. Third time I've recorded this film. I literally shot this, edited, color graded, uploaded it, was ready to release it, and I thought, you know what, I better take another look at this. This film's gonna rub some people the wrong way. And I looked at it and I thought, probably went a bit too far, gonna redo it. Just redid it, got in there, realized I was using the wrong terminology for whatever reason. Believe it or not, something is wrong in my brain. And I literally had imported the film, edited 3/4 of it, and just went, you idiot, you have to do it again. So here I am. I have dinner plans tonight. Kind of a fancy place, not my dinner plans. I would never make dinner plans. I would never go anywhere. Someone else did it to me, as a matter of fact. And I'm taking my flip-flops off because I'm gonna get comfortable because this is gonna get ugly. I don't know about you, but I am wildly disappointed in the American political establishment, and that is both parties. The parties ebb and flow in terms of disappointment, but the overall system, and I mean this seriously, the overall system is broken. The government is not functioning as it was intended to function. We are a different country, a different planet than we were 10,000 years ago. We need to make some changes. And when I look at the political establishment, I see a lot of the same thing. I see 2 dominant factors in the American political establishment. 3, I'll just say 3. Corruption, greed, and partisanship. And I'm tired of it. I look around and I keep thinking to myself, okay, who's coming next? Who is coming behind Joe Biden? Who is coming behind Donald Trump? And I don't see anyone remotely like a person that I would actually like to be in that job. What we've been doing is no longer good enough. I'm tired of it. It feels like our country is regressing in almost every way. And what we need is leadership, and we don't have it. And we haven't had it in a long time. And in fact, we've had some of the worst leadership in human history over the past recent future. And yes, I'm going to be naming names here, Donald Trump. I'm going to be naming things. But remember, there's a couple of things we have to establish before we go any further. Number 1, I do not identify with any American political party. And here's the thing. That bugs some people. Some people say to me, you can't do that. You have to identify with one or the other. No, I don't. I vote on lesser of 2 evils because none of these parties are about policy anymore. They're about partisanship, about special interest, about dark money, all these crazy things. I don't play along with that. So you can point a finger at me and say, oh, I know you're with that party, and you're wrong. Number 2, I have friends and family, immediate family, middle distance family, long distance family that are hardcore right wing. Yes, I do. And I have not so many family members on the far left, maybe a couple floating around out there, but I've got a ton of friends who are way far left. And guess what? I'm friends with all of them still. Just because someone has a different view from me, just because someone has a view that I look at and say, how on earth did you come to that conclusion, doesn't mean that I cut them out of my life. If I'm not able to talk to them and get a better understanding of why they hold those views, then what benefit is it? How could I possibly help anybody else if I am so entrenched in my views that I cut everyone else out? I don't do that. So I don't identify with the American political party, and I have friends all across the spectrum. Every spectrum. And that's something I'm proud of and something I intend to maintain. Now, I had another pre-point, if you would call these. I had 3. And now, because I don't write anything down except for some like cryptic notes, I forgot what the 3rd one was. But I'm just going to dive into these points because I think we should. Why not? Now, my wife is circling like a hornet outside the van. And she's got that look on her face. She's coming over here to interrupt me. Oh, distracted by the phone. Maybe she doesn't know I'm in here. Oh yeah, she's really tired. She's like a little girl when she's tired. She teeters back and forth. She rubs her eyes like this, and then she goes crazy. So hopefully she doesn't know I'm in the van. I'm just going to keep going. So let's get into these points. Kind of bugs me that I can't remember that third pre-point. What a rookie move, man. Where's my skill set? Number one, I'm just going to name these off. Number one, I want my future president to be kind. I want them to be nice. The fact that I have to say this tells you where we're at, and how bad things have gotten. I want them to be nice. And oh, by the way, for you, my friends, I'm not joking, tons of friends who fall into this category who think that kindness is a weakness. Typically those friends are coming from the far right. Then riddle me this. What about Roadhouse? What about your favorite movie of all time, Roadhouse, with probably the single most perfect human being to ever walk the face of the earth, Patrick Swayze? Dalton. Dalton is your guy. If you're a far right person, you thought Roadhouse was a documentary. Guess what? It's not. And what did he do? What did Dalton say to the bouncers to be in training? He said, yes, if you have a fight, you have to take them outside. But the last thing I want you to do is be nice. And the bartender, one of the bouncers was like, how do you be nice? He was like, I don't care. If he insults you, you be nice. If he does something horrible, you be nice. How hard can it possibly be to be nice? And by the way, I think I'm relatively nice. Going through the world nice is way better than going through the world not nice. I'll give you an example. This is policy aside. I am a half mile right now from the Bush compound at Walker Point, basically, which is where the Bush family, Herbert Walker, George Herbert Walker, Sr., Jr., Jeb, the whole Bush clan is about a half a mile from here. They have a fantastic reputation in this town. Yes, I would say majority vote in this town would go Republican, but there's quite a few Democrats around here as well. And even the Democrats that I know here in town, they have a pretty good feeling about Bush because Bush is nice. He walks on the beach. He remembers everybody's name. He talks to people like they're normal people. He treats people like they're normal people. Again, policies of his administration aside, if you ran into him on the mountain bike trail, he'd probably say hello and talk to you. Other presidents, Trump was probably the most vile human being we've ever had in the presidency. Terrible human being. I don't want that anymore. Biden, I don't even really know. I don't know in particular what the Democrats are even doing. I don't see a lot of ideas. I don't see a lot of policies. I don't see a lot of projection to the future. And I certainly don't see any young candidates like I'm about to describe coming to the forefront. And I keep waiting thinking, hey, there's a moderate Democrat. Hey, there's a moderate Republican who's young, that's feisty, that can work with both sides. I don't see it, which is why I had to build this list for everyone. And I'm sure this is going to go straight into the political system, and they will be calling me, and I will probably get a special appointment, and I won't be making YouTube films anymore because I'll have top secret clearance, and my life will be completely different before I, embezzle a bunch of money from the government, which is what we do. So number one is be kind. Number two, I would really love the president to have a rabid curiosity about the world. I want them to be curious. And I don't see a whole lot of curiosity. I see a lot of detachment, a lot of old school thinking, a lot of entrenched thinking, a lot of partisanship, a lot of business as usual, special interest, dark money, lobby groups, the same political system. Now, these politicians are not the dumbest people on the planet, believe it or not, because they know the population is not that well educated, and that population does not know in many cases how the government works internally. They can get away with virtually anything, as we've seen over the past few years. So I want them to be curious. What's Denmark doing? I don't know. I'm suspicious of Denmark in general. I don't think that's a real language, number one. But I'm curious about what's happening in Denmark. What's Iceland doing? What's the Chinese population in rural China doing? What are they up to? What do they think about? What do they have and not have? What could help their lives? I want the president to be curious, and I don't see a whole lot of that. I don't think Trump was curious about anything outside of himself and making a few more bucks. I think Obama was a reader. I think he was a little more curious. I think Bush Sr. was more curious than Junior. And I think Clinton was relatively curious as well. I mean, I think people who read, that's a pretty good first step for a president to do is read. I can't believe I have to say this, but I do. Point number 3, I would love for them to be multilingual. I am sort of semi-multilingual. At one point in my life, I spoke Spanish fairly well, actually. I don't so much anymore. It's embarrassing to me. I would love the president. This is a global position. We are in a global world, global positioning. The president, Spanish, French, Chinese, Arabic, surprise us. Danish? I don't think so. I don't think so. You guys won the tour. Just enjoy it. Don't get cocky. Just another language. How amazing would it be for the president to get up and just start ripping in Chinese? I can't even imagine. Biden, don't think he speaks another language. Trump barely spoke English, probably the most limited vocabulary of any public figure I've ever seen at any level. Obama, I don't think, was a much better speaker, but I don't think he spoke another language. I don't know, maybe that just never came up and all these people spoke a different language. I don't know. But I would like to see it, and I would like to see it on display. Thank you. Makes a lot of sense in this country as a second language, Spanish. I love Latin America. I love my brothers and sisters from Latin America. And I would love our president to just rip in Spanish and slang like street Spanish. Number 4, I would love them to be funny and self-deprecating. Humor goes a long way no matter what situation you are in. Whether you are in a tense diplomatic relation, or you are addressing the nation, or you are at a barbecue when you're stumping for your next campaign. Humor goes a long way, and we have almost entirely gotten away from it. At the high levels of the political establishment, there is almost no humor. There is hate. There is hate on display in abundance every single day, and it is so embarrassing as a nation for the rest of the world to look at us and see the infighting that's happening and the insults for sport that are happening. None of these people have a sense of humor. It's embarrassing, and I would really love for that to change. I would love maybe is it too much for the president maybe to tell a joke now and then on maybe a national address? Maybe you could toss in a little humor, a little self-deprecation. I don't know what Biden, if he's humorous. I don't know if he's self-deprecating. Trump, I never saw him laugh genuinely. I never saw him smile genuinely. He has a world-class reputation for never being able to joke about himself. In my opinion, he's a vile human being. I do not want his type anywhere near the White House. Obama, I think, had a little sense of humor. Bush Jr. had a sense of humor, and I think his senior had a sense of humor. Clinton did for the first 6 or 7 years. When the scandals hit and piled up, not so good. I get it. He sort of like, cut himself off after that. Number 5, I want them to be honest to a fault. Honesty is in short supply. It's in short supply in YouTube. It's in short supply in the photo industry. It's in short supply on social media. And it's certainly in short supply in our government. People lie all day long, every day. Not everyone lies compulsively, but most of the time there is a spin that's based around partisanship. Some of them, the Matt Gaetzes and Marjorie Taylors and Lauren Boeberts and all these wackos that are in the Congress now, in the Senate or the House, they are, lying. I'll give you a case in point. This is what you're seeing now. You video me, and I say, the sky is red. And then the next day, you show me that video, and I say, with a straight face, I never said that. And you go, yeah, you did. Here it is on video. No, I never said that. That's happening every day in our Congress. Legitimately, at the highest levels of Congress, people are lying to that degree. I don't know how you fight that or change that, because the public seems to be okay with it, because people are so entrenched in their political party that as long as it's their person saying it, they're okay with it. And whatever the other party is saying is obviously complete lie and false. And yes, of course, those people are lying, but our people over here don't lie. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's kind of, and again, I love the U.S., I love the country, but it's embarrassing at times because the Vladimir Putins and the Xi Jinpings of the world are looking at us and laughing their butts off because of what's happening in our government right now. It's kind of funny, but not ha-ha funny. Okay, number 6. Easy. We have a piper down. I want the president to be athletic. I do. I want athletic president. That's important to me. I want somebody who's mobile, who's young enough to move around. Maybe playing a little flag football with a tackle or two on the side on the lawn of the White House. Can the president throw a spiral? How about left-handed? I'm right-handed, but sometimes I throw football with my left hand. Whatever. Can they play tennis? Can they run? Can they ride a bicycle? We're going to get to this more in a minute. Athletics is important to me. You don't have to play a team sport. This person doesn't need to be a quarterback of the NFL. This person just needs to be athletic, somebody who exercises. And you might think I'm joking about this. I'm not. This is an important factor for me. I want the president to look fit. And we're going to talk about age and demographic here in a minute. They have to be fit. Biden, we know he can fall off a bike, which I thought was kind of cool, where he fell off and didn't break anything. Because bike wrecks are bad. I don't care if you're 12 or you're 82. You wreck a bike on the pavement, it's always worse than you think. I used to race BMX, and my brother raced motocross. And I swear bike wrecks on the bicycle track were worse than they were on the motorcycle track for some unknown reason. We know Biden can fall off and break anything. Trump has never exercised in his life. He has this weird theory that humans are like batteries. You're born with a certain amount of energy and then it runs out. He did everything in his power to not exercise. I think he probably looked down on anyone who did. He does not look like someone who's ever sweat in his life. And if you go back, Obama was a baller. Boom! Hitting the step back 3 on the side. I don't know if he was any good, but I'll ding him for smoking cigs. So, not cool. Not a good look for the president to be torquing on the butts. Bush Jr. was a mountain biker. He mountain biked all over this whole area. He mountain biked down in Crawford. I like that. I like to see a president out on a bike. Clinton, jogger. Ooh, short shorts. I told you about my problem with short shorts, and Bill Clinton's problem was even worse, because if you remember those images, thank God people weren't shooting video at the time. Those still images of him on the West Mall in short shorts running with Secret Service, they looked embarrassed. I was embarrassed. That was not a good look because he ran from the White House straight to McDonald's. Bush Sr., jogger, short shorts. Gonna ding him too. My point is they exercised. Number 7, I want the president to be a historian of both U.S. history and global international history. We are making the same horrible decisions today than we have before. If you go back and look at McCarthyism and read about McCarthyism in the early 50s, the Republicans of today are doing the exact same thing. The names are different, and they're even clumsier than they were in the 50s trying to get this stuff done. But it is parallel, baby. Go read up on McCarthyism, read up what they were doing to people like Robbie Oppenheimer, whose biography I'm still reading. It's dense, people. It's like eating a block of Velveeta. Look at what they did to Oppenheimer, and look at what the Republicans are doing right now. It's the exact same stuff. Now, the vast majority of my friends who are Republican voters probably don't know anything about that. My immediate family, who's hardcore Republican, they probably wouldn't even, and I'm not joking, they probably wouldn't even know what McCarthyism is. They just aren't, they're not informed historically. The president needs to be, because it brings a sense of power. When you understand the past and our history and all of the different tentacles of things that came in, let's take the late 1930s, for example, when you have Russia and Germany invading Poland and all of those different causes that happened, knowing that stuff helps give you a foundation for today to avoid some of the things that happened in the past. You need to love history as the president. Number 8, I want them to be tech savvy. No one can be as tech savvy as me. You all know that. So it's unfair for me to even bring this up. And I don't need them to be at my level. But what I need them to know is, what's a computer? And 2, for example, what's Google? I don't want the Google. I don't want the Googles. When you listen to the American Congress, interviewing the heads of the tech companies, within 30 seconds, you realize the Congress doesn't know what these tech companies are. They don't even know what they do. They don't know what email is. They don't know what Facebook is. They don't know any of this stuff, which is how the tech companies are able to yo-yo everyone, is because our government has aged themselves out of that ability to deal with modern culture and institutions. I think I said that correctly. You know what I'm saying? Obama was addicted to his BlackBerry. I think I mentioned that before. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I don't think Trump ever used a computer. We know he loves burner phones. I don't think he writes particularly well. I don't think he reads particularly well, so that makes sense. I don't know if Biden uses a computer or a phone. I honestly don't know. Obama, BlackBerry, and probably wrote emails, I'm sure. And the folks before them, tech wasn't as invasive then as it is now, so I don't expect people like, you know, Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford and Ronald Reagan to be, you know, ripping on their Commodore 64. I want them to be tech hip. Does that make sense? Number 8, number 9, I want them to be a connector, not a disconnector. I think we're so divisive now, and we're so divided as a nation politically, that it transfers over into our international policies and diplomacy. And I would much rather the president connect as opposed to disconnect. And I think that's where the humor comes in. I think that's where kindness comes in. And there's some points here. Don't think this person is going to be a pushover, not by a long shot. When you have a sense of history and you're kind and you're funny and you understand those geopolitics and history, you have power inside that dialogue. It's about connecting things. It's about looking out there and saying, and I guess it ties into curiosity as well, what's Denmark doing? How'd they win the Tour de France? That's what I want to know. I want the president to wonder, how did Jonas Vingegaard win the Tour de France? And what is Denmark really up to? Because I'm suspicious. Have you heard that language? I think they're talking about us behind our back and laughing at us, not with us. So I want them to be wondering what's happening. What's happening in rural China? How are those folks doing? What do they need that they don't have? How's their future looking? All of these different things. And I don't see a tremendous amount. I do think we've had presidents in recent history that were curious, that were connectors as opposed to disconnectors. But we seem to be going in the opposite direction now. That was a preemptive strike, if you will. Number 10, this is a good one. Write this one down. I want them to be metrosexual when it comes to nature. And I'm going to divide nature into wild and urban. Let's start with wild. I need them to be able to set up a tent. And the subcategory of that in the drop-down menu is I need them to be able to set up a tent in the rain. Because for any of you who know and camp, whether you moto camp or cycle camp or just camp off your own 2 feet, you know there are times when you get to where you're going and it's a downpour and you've got to set your tent up. That is a very specific skill. I would like the president to be able to do that. I would also like them to get dirty and not freak out about it. I can't imagine Biden getting dirty other than when he fell over on his bike. Trump, never been in the wild in his life. I think he looks down on anyone who goes into the wild. He didn't know what Yosemite was. He called it Yosemite. That was one of the most astounding things I've ever heard in my entire life. Don't think Obama was really into camping. Bush Jr., yes. Clinton, no. Bush Sr., probably not. A whole lot of camping there. I need them to get dirty. I need them to know the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear. In fact, I would like the American public to know that because I have to step in, I would say 3 times a week when I hear people talking about grizzly bears. Oh, you know, if you leave your door open in the van at night, you might get a grizzly bear in your van here in Maine. Oi, people. Okay, I need them to name at least one species of trout. They need to know brown, brookies, rainbows, cutthroats, whatever it is. Take your pick. The president should be able to identify at least one form of trout and, by the way, know what a dry fly is. Because really, is there any other kind of fly fishing? And, by the way, last thing I'll say about the wild portion of the evening, I want an archery setup on the south lawn. So in the middle of a meeting, if things are slow, that window slides back, president fires off an arrow into the archery target. I think that would be cool. Now, on the flip side, they've got to exist and deal with urban environments as well. I need them to know how to make a dry martini. I think the martini is the pinnacle drink in the drink world. Its simplicity and potency are commendable. Vast majority of martinis you're going to get in bars are terrible because they're made by younger bartenders who probably don't drink martinis, and it seems deceptively easy. It's not. It's an art form, and I would really love the president to know how to do that. Even if the president is a teetotaler and does not drink alcohol, I'm totally fine with that as well. I need them to look cool, casual. I'm tired of the suits, the pandering in the blue suits with the red tie and the white shirt and all this, you know, got to have a flag, all the same stuff we've done. We get it. We love the States. We love America. It's a cool place. I live here. What else do you need to know? But no jean shorts. If you are caught wearing jean shorts, we start the Insurrection Act and you are immediately removed from office. The same applies for cargo shorts. I need them to just look cool casually. Go to Forever 21. Go to Zara, take the Secret Service in, get some fitted clothes for crap's sake. Just look cool casual, because right now it really doesn't happen. And how is it possible? Doesn't the president have a stylist? Please tell me, someone tell me that. Museums and galleries. I need you to know a little bit, but I don't ever want you to spend more than an hour in a gallery and no more than 2 hours in a museum. But I want you connected to the art world and the creative world because you need to understand the GDP that's associated with the creative world that it never seems to get credit for. Okay, and did I mention biking? Yes, I want the president to cycle in an urban environment because the only way we're ever going to change the cycling culture in America is from the top down. If suddenly everyone in the Congress decided they wanted to ride a bike to work, guess what? We'd have bike lanes, we'd have safety measures, we'd have charging stations, we would have all of it if the Congress actually wanted to do it. It starts at the top and trickles down. I would love that. Okay, point number, this is subcategory of 10. We're going to talk demographics. This is 10.5. The president needs to be between 35 and 45 years of age. And in terms of gender and sexual orientation, any and all are welcome. It should have no relevancy whatsoever outside of the fact that whatever you are, whoever you are absolutely welcome to be the president of the United States. More importantly to me than that aspect is the age. I cannot stand any more late 70s, early 80s people who have nothing in common with me. Zero. I need somebody that is closer to my age that has a little fire in him. Someone that might do something a little crazy. Maybe that arrow on the south lawn at the last second, maybe they just shoot it over the fence. I don't know. I need a little fire, a little mystery, maybe a little misdemeanor. What happens if the president gets a misdemeanor? I don't know. Does the president get jury duty? I think it should be mandatory. President has to do jury duty at least once a year. I get called like 14 times a year. And then they go, oh, no, we won't call you for another year. And then sure enough, they do. And by the way, the threats that they make for jury duty, not cool. Not cool at all. 35 to 45, it doesn't matter your gender or your sexual orientation or any of that. Everybody's equal. Everybody's welcome. Thank you, my parents, for teaching me that when I was a child. My parents were like, every religion is equal. Every person is equal. Every gender is equal. Everybody's equal. Get on with your life. Go do something good. I think I'm going to try to start soon. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Number 11, they have to be a great listener. I'm tired of politicians dictating instead of listening to the actual constituents. Huh, who'da thunk? That would have been a novel idea in 2022. But yes, here we are. They have to listen. Tell me who's a good listener. I don't know. Some of these people were better than others. And I think it all ties together. So the people who were kind, who had a sense of history, who were connectors, sure. Tendency to be better listeners than others. I think it's a great skill. I probably am guilty. I know you're going to find this hard to believe. Hear me out. Trust me, hear me out. I've been known to ramble. I know. I'm serious. I know you're doubting me, but it's true. Number 12, I need you to truly mix with the public. And the thing that jumps out at me is the fireside chats. And I want a modern take on fireside chats where the president is able to go into the community, into small communities with very small groups of people None, it's not recorded. There's no social media. It's not politicized, nothing. Maybe he just shows up. She shows up at a cafe in Fort Kent, Maine, and says, who wants to talk? Secret Service, small group of people. It's going to be tricky. I know we have a lot of unstable folks out there. Maybe I'm in that category. I don't know. But I think walking down a row of people at a giant event and shaking hands and signing babies and all that stuff, it's just BS. Like, who cares? That's not interacting with the American people. These people are in a bubble, and it's them and it's us, and it's time to get beyond that. And maybe you know going in, if you're 35 to 45 and you look at the trends in America right now and the violence in America, the hate in America, you know that you may not live through that job. So maybe that's a part of the process, is, you know, maybe you got to wear a vest every day. I don't know, but the president needs to be a person of the people. And to do that, you've got to be with the people. So we got to figure that out. Maybe it's Bubble Boy. I think my brother used to torment me and call me Bubble Boy when I was little, because I had asthma and I was always on like a lung. I was in the tube, you know, with the iron lung, and my brother'd be like, Bubble Boy, because there was a John Travolta movie when I was in elementary school that played like on network television, and we sat around as a family, and he had like a long feathered hair, and he was like Bubble Boy, and I was like, oh man, Travolta's so cool, I want to be Bubble Boy. And then my brother was like, you are Bubble Boy, loser. And then probably just like neck punched me at the same time. But we have a great relationship. Love my brother. Okay, number 13, absolutely, positively no religious affiliation whatsoever. The president, let me repeat that in case there's any gray area. The future president of the United States can have absolutely no religious affiliation whatsoever. Whatever they do in their private life is fine. Christian, Muslim, Judaism, Hindu, I don't care. But to continue to use religion as a pandering method to gain votes is insulting to all of us. If you look at the Congress right now, these wackos on the right wing talking about Christian nationalism and there shouldn't be a separation of church and state. If you made a list of traits, of attributes, of good Christians and bad Christians, all of those people would tick every box in the bad Christian. They are simply doing that to stir the pot, to stir hate, and drive division because there's money in it for them. So I don't want religion anywhere near the White House. It is a waste of time. Another example. Why don't we just use riot gear and clear out that park so I can stand in front of this church with my Bible upside down? And oh, by the way, speaking of Trump, I heard an interview with him, he was at a religious event. And by the way, I don't know anything about Biden's religion. I don't know anything about Obama's religion. I don't know. It wasn't so completely over-the-top, crafted, crazy. I heard Trump interviewed, and these two guys were trying to throw him softballs. And they said, are you a fan more of the Old Testament or the New Testament? And you could just see him like, uh-oh, there's more than one? And he couldn't answer. And so he was like, oh, you know, I don't really want to play favorites. And, you know, because if I choose Old Testament, then the new one's going to get mad at me. And they said, okay. What about like passages? Is there any scripture passage that in your mind like jumps out as relevant? Same thing. You realize he's never opened the book in his life. And he's like, you know, next question. And so it went on. And I was like, geez, but my evangelical friends. And yes, I have evangelical friends, believe it or not, and I've been friends with them for 45 years. Still friends with them. Love them. They're amazing people. They give you the shirt off their back. They're some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Politically, complete hypocrites, because they'll hitch their wagon to Trump because he was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and they got their way. So I don't want religion anywhere near the White House. It's destroying us, and it's ridiculous. Not religion, just the tie to the political establishment and then pandering to me as if you're some sort of spiritual individual. I just don't buy it with any of these. How are you a spiritual individual and go into politics in the first place? I call BS on you, my friends. Okay, number 14, this is also really important. The future president cannot come from generational wealth. I'm tired of people who are coming to our presidency through generational wealth, who are not just the 1%, they are the 1% of the 1%, which means they are so completely out of touch with everyday people, And it's evidenced every single day. It doesn't work. What we need is a president who is from the middle class. And the reason I throw middle class out there is that the middle class folks in America tend to know how easy it is to go down and how difficult it is to go up. They have to work their butts off. And they know one missed paycheck, one emergency, and suddenly you're a class below. And they know how that ceiling, man, it's like they're under the lake and there's 6 inches of ice that you're trying to break through and you're running out of air. That's what it's like moving up in America. It's not easy. And when the president comes in at 1% or 1%, they are totally detached and they have a financial safety net, which basically says, whatever happens, happens, I'm fine. All the members of Congress are in the same boat. They can act like maniacs all day long because they're raking in the cash. They've got lifetime benefits. They've got all the stuff that Americans don't have. No more generational wealth. And by the way, I don't dislike wealthy people. I think a lot of times people, especially on the left wants to look at anybody that has wealth and says, oh, we got to, you know what? He probably lucked out. That person probably inherited that, whatever. I know a ton of wealthy people. I have my whole life. I know ranchers who are wealthy. I know people who started with absolutely nothing. In fact, one of the wealthiest people I know was a stock boy in a grocery store in North Texas and now is a multi-billionaire. These people worked their butts off. They worked harder than you and they worked harder than me and they worked smarter than you and they worked smarter than me and they worked their way up. Yes, there are people that inherit money. I don't hold that against you either. Heck, I would love to inherit a bunch of money. I would be a complete a-hole within minutes. I'd be like, hey, you want some Swedish fish? Psych! And I would take them away. Even if you were a small child, I would still do it. So absolutely no generational wealth. Number 15, I want them to have served in the military. Service to your country. Service to something beyond yourself. Knowing that the person on your right and the person on your left are counting on you to keep them alive and vice versa. And not to mention, the way that we treat our vets in America is disgusting. If you're a kid who volunteers to go put your life on the line in any way that we decide we want you to, and then you come home and don't get treated like royalty, that's a crime. We have to change that. We have to fix that. The only way, in my mind, is for the president to have served in the military. And it doesn't mean active frontline combat. It could be a supporting role. Whatever. Serve in the military. Do something that's beyond yourself, that's a fight for the greater cause, essential for this next president. Number 16, and the sun's going down, so I'm running out of time, getting some weird light and shadows. Just keep moving here, man. Keep moving. Ducking serpentine. They should be an eloquent diplomat. This is obviously a diplomatic role. They need to be able to command a podium. Biden, when he gets up to speak, I just think to myself, please make it through. Please make it through. Please make it through. Trump was mortifying. The worst vocabulary, the worst speaker, doesn't read off the teleprompter well, always went off, just went off on wild tangents. Absolutely embarrassing. The only good thing about Trump is that his mistakes were so bad they're good. I can watch those reruns of his mistakes all day long and I can still laugh even though I've seen him 100 times. Obama was a much better speaker, but still contained. A little bit too polished in my mind. I want a little bit more off the cuff, but when you're kind and you're a connector and you know your history and you're smart, you can get away with a little off the cuff. When you have none of those traits, you can't. And that's been evidenced. So an eloquent speaker, when you go on the international stage and you get on a podium, the amount of power that you are commanding at that moment cannot be understated. It is astounding the amount of power that you have. And you have to harness it and take it and politely give it away and ebb and flow. And that takes a master speaker. And we have not had one for a long time. A long time. Biden, no. Trump, definitely not. Obama, better. Bush Jr., no way. Clinton, better. Bush Sr., better than Jr. And Jimmy Carter, I don't know. I was like, I don't know, eating M&Ms out of the couch when he was president. Okay, number 17, no social media from the White House outside of informational delivery and alerts. You know, we've got a forest fire in NorCal. Absolutely, that goes out. The president is in Guam I don't know, playing quarterback for the Guam University, great, that goes out there. I don't want to know what you ate. I don't want to know that you hate your political opponent. I don't want to know that you think life is unfair. None of that. Social is absolutely decimating our culture because people are dumb enough to believe what they see on it. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. I don't want it anywhere near the White House. What I do want is a website where the president blogs. I want long-form written posts, and this is a two-part point. The president must give complete and total access to the White House photographic staff. Go back to Gerald Ford. David Hume Kennerly was Ford's photographer. And Ford went to the Secret Service and said, wherever I go, Kennerly goes, no questions asked. Consequently, we have this incredible archive of Gerald Ford because Kennerly had access. Reagan, not so great. Bush Sr., okay, not so great. Clinton, good for 6.5 years until all the scandals, and then boom, it sort of dropped off. You know, imagine why. Obama had Pete Souza. I was able to interview Pete Souza. I honestly had not seen a whole lot of Pete Souza's work, so I went out and I looked, and I realized he was a lot better photographer than I thought he was, but he also had good access with Obama. I think Obama understood the power in a White House photographer and also creating an archive of work from his presidency. And I also think, even though Obama did some stuff that a lot of the folks on the left don't want to believe he did some pretty shady stuff, he allowed access, and that's key. So I want to see the president blog and write personal long-form pieces and then use the photography from the White House staff as a complement to that. Trump had a photographer. I don't know her name. I hope that she got good access. I honestly don't know if I've seen a single photograph from this person. I probably have, just not knowing it was her. Biden, I don't know. Bush Jr., a friend was a photographer for Bush Jr. for 7 years. He gave pretty good access eventually. Apparently Bush Jr. initially wanted to bar the press corps from the White House, and his advisors apparently or allegedly went to him and said, look, technically you could do that, but if you do, the press is going to make your life miserable for 4 years. So he let him stay there. And I think he eventually gave okay access. And my friend who worked for him for 7 years, the funny part is I think my friend, when he started working for Bush, came in with, my friend was very much on the left, but he liked Bush. Bush was a personable guy that would take time and talk, and, you know, again, he's nice. He's nice. Again, policy aside, all you lefties, pipe down, turn off that NPR and put down the red wine. Don't get on my case, because I'll shake up my Bud Light and pff, right in your face. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a violent man. One of my favorite lines of all time is from, not Pale Rider. What's the other one? The Unforgiven, which I thought was a good script, by the way. Unforgiven. Good movie script. And he says, my name's William Money. I've killed everything that walked or crawls at one time. I kind of liked that. It's dark. It is. It's dark, like my mood. But if you're looking for a good script, and this is, yes, I just took a right turn. This has nothing to do with American politics. Anytime I'm feeling like I need a break and I need to reassure myself that the world is a good place, I do not turn to the American political establishment. I don't think that's the role of the president to tell me, or the Congress. Thank God, because our Congress is a train wreck. I don't look to them to right the ship. What I do is I watch the first 17 minutes of Apocalypse Now. I watch it and I listen to that script. And I think to myself, this was written in real time the night before as crew members were having heart attacks and the jungle was swallowing the film and the crew and choppers were going down. Somehow that emerged. That footage, that cinematography, and that script emerged the first 17 minutes. And I think to myself, I wanted a mission. And for my sins, they gave me one.